This procedure demonstrates how to replace the packing seals on the HMP-610 hot melt pump station. This needs to be done when leakage is such that it prevents proper lubrication of the displacement rod. The lack of lubrication will result in wear of the displacement rod, which will lead to premature failure of new seals. The system needs to be heated to operating temperature so that components may be taken apart and cleaned. So turn on the power and allow the system to heat up. Remove the follower from the drum and clean excess material off with a putty knife. Then lower the follower onto a couple wooden slats across the base. Mark the location of the out-of-material sensor bracket on the ram piston and move it out of the way. Making this sensor would disable the air motor, which is needed for this process. With the elevator up-down lever in the neutral position, turn off the air supply and relieve the pressure. Bleed all pressure from the pump hose and foot valve by first activating the applicable heads and then by opening the bleeder valves, or by running a few spacers through the extruder until the pressures are reduced. Disconnect the material hose from the pump to prevent pressure buildup and possible damage to the extruder seals. Disconnect the proportional valve signal wire and the air motor position sensor. Remove the proportional valve and use a 90-degree elbow to plumb the air directly into the air motor. Replace the air motor position sensor and acknowledge the alarm on the ADM. Back off the air motor pressure regulator all the way. Clean up the worst of the oil and material from the packing nut and displacement rod while it's still hot. Be sure to use proper PPE to prevent burns. Turn on the air supply and slowly increase the air motor pressure until it starts to cycle slowly. Turn off the air supply slide valve to the air motor when the motor is in a full downstroke. Loosen the coupling and disconnect the air motor from the pump. Remove the two halves of the coupling collar. Back off the air motor pressure regulator all the way. Place a long zip tie around the air motor piston and the tie rod, so once the air motor is retracted up all the way, the slide valve can be shut off and the zip tie tightened to hold the motor up and out of the way. Not securing the air motor may allow it to drift downward once the air is shut off. Slowly increase the air motor pressure until it moves up and out of the way, then shut off the air and tighten the zip tie. Remove the coupling nut from the displacement rod, and then lock out the air supply. Next, loosen and remove the packing nut from the outlet housing. Again, use caution as the material and components are very hot and can cause severe burns. Wear appropriate PPE, including safety glasses, gloves, and sleeves. Remove the majority of the hot melt material while it's still warm, and then place the packing nut in a sturdy vise. You will need a 63.5 millimeter or 2.5 inch wrench to separate the two halves of the packing nut assembly. Remove the other U-cup packing and the brass seal backup washer for the packing nut. Clean the rest of the material from the packing nut once the seals are removed. Note, a cold ball butyl works well for removing the majority of the hot material. Clean the foot valve displacement rod and upper pump housing with solvent and check for excessive wear on the piston rod.
Packing nut comes pre-assembled with the wiper and seal pressed in. We need to put in the seal itself. Pack this with petroleum jelly or a high temp grease. And we can place this in here, open side face down. We want to make sure that presses in evenly. On the other side of the packing nut, we have a scraper which goes in first. Again, we'll put a little petroleum jelly on here to help lubricate that, or high temp grease. And this one goes in with the open edge face up, because as this is inverted, it will be face down. Now I want to press this in evenly. So an old gold end cap from an air cylinder from the extruder works well. It's perfect size, and we'll just use a piece of 3/4 inch black pipe connector here to press that in, or a large socket. We'll do that on the arbor press.
Install the brass washer and apply anti-seize lubricant to the threads of the packing nut. Torque the packing nut to 150 foot-pounds, plus or minus 30 foot-pounds. Apply anti-seize lubricant to the threads on the packing nut and install under the inlet housing. Torque to 225 foot-pounds, plus or minus 10 foot-pounds. Slide the coupling nut over the displacement rod and install the two coupling collars. Cut the zip tie and bring the air motor piston down to the displacement rod and connect the two together with the coupling nut. Torque to 145 to 155 foot-pounds. Disconnect the air supply, remove the air motor position sensor, and reinstall the proportional valve. Reinstall the air motor position sensor and the proportional valve signal wire. Acknowledge the air motor position sensor alarm on the ADM. Reconnect the material hose. Note, use a flat screwdriver to clean out the material from the end of the hose. This will make it much easier to get the thread started without cross-threading. Fill the reservoir of the packing nut 2/3 full with throat seal liquid. Unlock the air supply and set the air motor regulator back to 80 to 90 psi. Set the out-of-material sensor bracket back to the marks on the ram piston. Raise the follower and make sure there's no dirt or debris stuck to the underside. Load a new drum of material as described in the manual or on the training video.